I found and analyzed over 1,000 Catgirls from anime spanning the past 50 years to answer just one very important question. What is the deal with Catgirls? If you have touched the anime sphere of the internet instead of outside on our planetary sphere, then you know what I'm talking about, because they are everywhere. Inescapable, yet so alluring, as they say, i.e. me. But riddle me this. If the 5G towers are turning us slowly into femboy Catgirls, then how is it that we do not know where said Catgirls come from? We speak of the original sin, yet why do not speak of the original Catgirl? If Tesla's spaceman promises us genetically engineered Catgirls, then are Catgirls actually space aliens? Checkmate atheists. Welcome to Purgatory, and let's get started. Also, be sure to subscribe. You see, if you think about it, this phenomenon, if you will, of the anime Catgirl really was an inevitable outcome in modern-day society. Just as the history of society follows the development of human technological prowess, so too does the history of the Catgirl, as in there have been many depictions of animal-human hybrids in mythology around the world that has inspired literature for generations and evolved as society evolved. The most recent example of which is, as we all know, the incredibly historically accurate meme that without the US dropping the atomic bomb, we wouldn't have gotten anime and by extension anime Catgirls. Now I'm level with you, while the narrative of atomic bombs causing Catgirls is not a new one, I think we can all agree that it's a little more complicated than that. Any reasonable person would take that information and probably, I don't know, go outside and touch grass, but this is the Mr. Valentine channel. We don't touch grass here, and yes, I am insane. No, we seek to find the original Catgirl, understand how they came into being and evolved over time, and finally attain the Catgirl waifus that we all deserve. And to start us off, just as Big G must define what a G is to 5G us all into femboy Catgirls, so too do we need to define what a Catgirl is to find the Catgirl OG. Starting with the most obvious, which is that anime Catgirls are also anime girls, which already do show some link between their appearance and cats, but also have the whole shebang of big eyes, negative nose, all that, and a whole host of other features that hijack the cuteness processing portions of the brain, causing permanent brain damage. Catgirls kick this up a notch by implementing some novel features that 3D women could never compete with. Physically, Catgirls are normal anime girls, but with cat ears on their head, potentially some fur on their arms and legs, maybe some whiskers, maybe this, maybe that, but definitely cat ears. Then there's what we do not see so easily, which are the cat mannerisms, licking themselves randomly, maybe only somewhat bipedal, and more often than not, a more playful personality. And one other thing, repeat after me. No shot, I'm gonna try that. I don't know Japanese. But what we will try is to find the Catgirl OG using my favorite website, Anilist. Thanks to Anilist having good search functions, we can use the nekomimi tag and kemonomimi tag to a limited degree to find all the shows that contain Catgirls ever on a year-by-year basis. And after spending many hours grinding out spreadsheets and scouring the darkest depths of the internet, we find ourselves at the first candidate for the Catgirl OG. Specifically, Chibi from the Star of Cottonland is by some accounts the original Catgirl, with the anime releasing in 1984, truly encapsulating George Orwell's literary genius. Also, the manga came out in 1978, but that's just not as fun. And according to both Anilist and this one thread I found on Google, this is the original Catgirl. Chibi basically is a kitten that grows up believing that she is human and can speak, yet to other people she meows like a cat. She then goes on an adventure with other cats that are also anthropomorphized, but honestly, I watched it and it was kind of mid, and it didn't really feel like most Catgirls do today, despite on paper this being the original Catgirl. So this opens up the question, is this Catgirl enough to count as a Catgirl? Is this really the type of character we think of when we think Catgirl? No. I mean, by that logic, this thing is the first sports car, and Mizuzu from Urusei Yatsura could be the original anime Catgirl. And she doesn't quite fit the picture either. Catgirls are not simply girls that are cats or cats that are girls. Yet, the Star of Cottonland certainly is at least a type of Catgirl, but maybe just a precursor, a proto-Catgirl if you would. Maybe what we need is a leveling system to determine the degree to which a given character is Catgirl. And so, in the same way that our food or hierarchy of needs can be shown in pyramid form, so too can the levels of Catgirl, because those obviously are also required to survive, presenting the Catgirl leveling pyramid. This details the types of morphological features that appear in the varying levels of Catgirl, including things like cat ears and other things like that as we discussed earlier, with level 1 being basically just a cat with some anthropomorphization, level 2 being the proto-Catgirls that appear most commonly in the 80s and 90s, that while do have some basic Catgirl features, often lack the correct vibe of a Catgirl. Level 3 are the Catgirl adjacent characters like Fox Girls, Lion Girls, etc., and level 4 is an almost perfect Catgirl that lacks just one crucial feature, and at the peak of human human civilization's progress stands level 5, the true Catgirl in the physical and spiritual sense that has invaded weeb and internet culture. And thus, to understand the evolution of the Catgirl and get a better answer to the Catgirl OG, we can use these levels to characterize how the Catgirl invasion took place. Specifically, if we can understand how the popularity of anime Catgirls changed over time backed up by raw data, then we can use that to draw some conclusions about the nature of Catgirls. And all we gotta do is look for not just the Catgirl OG, but all Catgirls. All of them, and put them in a spreadsheet with every show containing a Catgirl, and then use every piece of data derived from each show to find even the smallest sliver of potential gain in the critical Catgirl knowledge. It turns out that Catgirls are much more popular and prevalent in anime than ever before, big whoop, but not as much as you would think. Small whoop? We can prove this, of course, with the power of large spreadsheets. If we take the popularity of each anime containing a Catgirl on Anilist for each given year, and then record the minutes of runtime that show had, then we have a pretty good metric for the popularity of these Catgirl containing shows. Then to isolate the amount of Catgirl per given anime, we first can use the 5-level system to assign the level of Catgirl a show has. Yet there is one more hurdle, which is the amount of runtime that each Catgirl character had per anime, because obviously if a Catgirl appeared as a main character for 23 episodes as opposed to some random background character that appeared for 2 seconds, then clearly the first show should carry more weight in terms of Catgirl popularity. Unfortunately, this doesn't mean I watched every single anime and recorded the exact runtime of Catgirls in all of them, because we actually don't have time for that. Fortunately, I came up with a solution, which is of course creating a Catgirl formula. The Catgirl character to total character ratio, or CC over TC ratio formula, is what I use to get around the problem, because if you assume that every listed main character on Anilist has equal screen time, and supporting characters have equal share of time, then by taking the ratio of characters that contain Catgirls on screen, you get an approximation of the amount of time that a Catgirl spends on screen. And I swear this is all leading to the original Catgirl. I haven't forgotten about that. But also, Lamau, look at these graphs. Alright, so this is the popularity of the Catgirl over time, combining the Anilist popularity, runtime, CC over TC ratio, and Catgirl level into one metric. And as you can see, it's kind of all over the place, but for comparison, this is the popularity of Catgirls when just looking at the popularity on Anilist. And as you can see, it isn't consistently increasing either, which is, by the way, the technical way to say that. So maybe there isn't really a strong increase in Catgirl popularity like we thought, and the feeling of Catgirls invading all of society is really just because of this graph, which is the number of anime released each year, and you can see that tiny part is the number of anime with Catgirls in them released each year, which really seems way too low, but remember, this is all anime, not the ones we watch. Interestingly, if we take the ratio between these two, we get a useful graph that shows that while yes, Catgirls do make up a larger part of anime than they did in 1984, it actually isn't as much of an increase as you would think. And therefore, while Catgirls do make up a larger part of anime than they did 30 years ago, their invasion has much more to do with the fact that there are just more anime these days. I will admit this doesn't really account for other appearances of Catgirls in media, such as in memes, VTubers, other Japan stuff, and of course, hentai. Anyways, back to the Catgirl OG. Although we now know that the Catgirl invasion mainly has to do with the general popularity increase of anime, we still don't know where they came from, which is what we'll be explaining next. It turns out that looking at anime released every single year and recording them is also a pretty good way of figuring out of how said Catgirls in anime changed each year. And with that, I now present to you my current theory on the emergence of the Catgirl, dubbed the Catgirls came from space theory. Hear me on this one. Hear me. Okay, let me cook. Basically, the evolution of the Catgirl closely coincides with that of waifu culture, and because of that, Catgirls came from space. Let me explain. In the 70s, there were a lot of anime that involved space and sci-fi elements, like as in aliens, robots, space stuff, and over time, they started to have progressively more attractive anime girls appearing in them, with anime such as Space Battleship Yamato having characters like Yuki that could be considered a waifu, or Cutie Honey having an android that also could be considered a waifu, and then evolved further with various 70s anime, leading us to 1981 with the release of Urusei Yatsura, which widely is credited to have established waifu culture. But of course, many have said waifus are space aliens as per the plot of the anime. Catgirls were not really prominently shown in Urusei Yatsura, but interestingly, as I mentioned previously, Urusei Yatsura does have a proto-Catgirl, Mizuzu, in it, who is an alien. And do you get what I'm saying? From space, yes. We get to the 90s, and waifus are everywhere, but Catgirls are actually not. Like, yeah, there are a few proto-Catgirls here and there, like all-purpose cultural Catgirl with the cat soul being fused into an android waifu that still doesn't have basic features of Catgirls like cat ears. Surprisingly, the first contender for the first true Catgirl in anime doesn't appear until 1997 with the release of Hyper Police, Natsuki being the main character in that, who is half Nekomata, which then leads us to the TV short comedy series I actually don't know how to say this. Yes, Digikarat, releasing in 1999. And this indisputably has Catgirls. I mean, look at this. These are Catgirls. And in fact, there's a whole lot of Catgirls. Also, the main character is literally an alien Catgirl princess. See, it all comes back to the aliens, okay? It all comes back. See what I mean? Catgirls came from space, screaming in the streets. So honestly, while I do still believe somewhat the common narrative of Catgirls becoming popular in the 90s, as I cannot have all the evidence since, you know, I wasn't alive, I do question it a little bit more after this. From what I see, Catgirls evolved into modern Catgirls and then became popular by and in the 2000s, where eventually Catgirls stopped being aliens or reincarnated cats or whatever explanation, because Catgirls are just a thing now and they just exist in anime and don't require an explanation anymore. To sum it up, the evolution of Catgirls in the Catgirls came from space theory goes sci-fi anime, alien waifus in sci-fi anime, alien Catgirls in anime, and then to Catgirls in anime. Therefore, it turns out that the answer to the question of the original Catgirl, and by extension the original true Catgirl, is more vague than it may seem at first. But after all, just as the exact point when a species separates from a common ancestor under Darwin's theory of evolution is difficult to determine, so too is the exact point in Catgirl evolution when Catgirls finally became the Catgirls we know today. What I'm saying is that we need to do more research on Catgirls as scientists. Like, for example, why are Catgirls hot? No, it's not just me being down bad. Like psychologically, what's happening there? Or what would happen to society if genetically engineered Catgirls were to say, I don't know, infiltrate it per Elon Musk? These are all great questions. I asked them, by the way. We really do live in one of the times in history right now, but hey, at least we have Catgirls, so maybe that should be the takeaway. Speaking of living, quick update, you will notice that my upload schedule has been kinda shit lately, which is of course because of life, school, and stuff get kinda cringe, but you know, I promise, it's getting better, okay? The upload schedule is gonna get better. But you know what isn't cringe is going down below this video and hitting that subscribe button, so that maybe one day if we unlock the secrets to the anime Catgirl, you will be along for the ride. Yeah, okay, honestly, that'll do it anyways. Yeah, I'm gonna go watch Slime Season 3 now. See ya. Yep, I'm out.